A rasa denotes an essential mental state and is the dominant emotional theme of a work of art or the primary feeling that is evoked in the person that views, reads or hears such a work. Although the concept of rasa is fundamental to many forms of Indian art including dance, music, musical theatre, cinema and literature, the treatment, interpretation, usage and actual performance of a particular rasa differs greatly between different styles and schools of abhinaya, and the huge regional differences even within one style. Elements. Bharata Muni enunciated the 8 rasas in the Natyasastra, an ancient work of dramatic theory, written during the period between 200 BC and 200 AD. Each rasa, according to Natyasastra, has a presiding deity and a specific color. There are 4 pairs of rasas. For instance, Harsayal arises out of Sringra. The aura of a frightened person is black, and the aura of an angry person is red. Bharata Muni established the following. Sha to the first Ngaram love, attractiveness. Presiding deity, Vishnu. Color, green. Hasyam laughter, mirth, comedy. Presiding deity, Ganesha. Color, white. Rangaram fury. Presiding deity, Rudra. Color, red. Karua to the first Yam compassion, tragedy. Presiding deity, Yama. Color, dove-colored. Barbat Sam disgust, aversion. Presiding deity, Shiva. Color, blue, Bhayanakam horror, terror. Presiding deity, Kala. Color, black, Balram heroic mood. Presiding deity, Indra. Color, wheatish brown, Abhutam wonder, amazement. Presiding deity, Brahma. Color, yellow, Navarasa, as the tradition of Alankara Shastra developed from the 6th through 10th centuries CE, a 9th rasa was contentiously endorsed by certain scholars. This rasa was only widely accepted after an extended philosophical and aesthetic theorization by Abhinavagupta. Subsequently, the 9 rasas were accepted by the majority of the Alankarikas, and the expression Navarasa could come into vogue. Shantam peace or tranquility. Deity, Vishnu. Color, white. In addition to the 9 rasas, 2 more appeared later, additional rasas, Vatsalya parental love, Bhakti spiritual devotion. However, the presiding deities, the colors and the relationship between these additional rasas have not been specified. In the literary compositions, the emotion of bhakti as a feeling of adoration towards God was long considered only a minor feeling fit only for stotras, but not capable of being developed into a separate rasa as the sole theme of a whole poem or drama. In the 10th century, it was still struggling, and Acharya Abhinavagupta mentions bhakti in his commentary on the Natya Shastra, as an important accessory sentiment of the Shanta rasa, which he strove with great effort to establish. However, just as Shanta slowly attained a state of primacy that it was considered the rasa of rasas, bhakti also soon began to loom large and despite the lukewarmness of the great run of Alankarikas, had the service of some distinguished advocates, including Tyagaraja. It is the Bhagavata that gave the great impetus to the study of bhakti from an increasingly aesthetic point of view. A rasa is the developed relishable state of a permanent mood, which is called sthari bhava. This development towards a relishable state results by the interplay on it of attendant emotional conditions which are called vibhavas, anubhavas and sanchari bhavas. Vibhavas means karana or cause. It is of 2 kinds, alambana, the personal or human object and substratum, and udipana, the excitants. Anubhava, as the name signifies, means the ensuance or effects following the rise of the emotion. Sanchari bhavas are those crossing feelings which are ancillary to a permanent mood. 8 more emotional features are to be added, namely, the sattvika bhavas. Performing arts. In the Indian performing arts, a rasa is an emotion inspired in an audience by a performer. They are described by Bharata Muni in the Natyasastra, an ancient work of dramatic theory. Rasas are created by bhavas, the gestures and facial expressions of the actors. Expressing rasa in classical Indian dance form is referred to as rasa abhinaya. The Natyasastra carefully delineates the bhavas used to create each rasa. the theory of Rasa still forms the aesthetic underpinning of all Indian classical dance and theatre, such as Bharatanatyam, Kathak, Kuchipudi, Odissi, Manipuri, Kudayattam, Kathakali and others. The expressions used in Kudayattam or Kathakali are extremely exaggerated theatrical expressions. The opposite of this interpretation is Balasaraswati's school of subtle and understated abhinaya of the Devadasis. There were serious public debates when Balasaraswati condemned Rukmini Devi's puritanistic interpretations and applications of Sringa Rasa. The abhinaya of the Malacca style of abhinaya remains extremely rich in variations of the emotions, while the Pandanala style expressions are more limited in scope. Bhavas, the Natya-shastra identifies 8 rasas with 8 corresponding bhava, rati, hasya, sokha, krodha, utsaha, bhaya, jugupsa, vismaya. Influence on cinema. Rasa has been an important influence on the cinema of India. The Rasa method of performance is one of the fundamental features that differentiate Indian cinema from that of the Western world. In the Rasa method, empathetic emotions are conveyed by the performer and thus felt by the audience, in contrast to the Western Stanislavski method where the actor must become a living, breathing embodiment of a character rather than simply conveying emotion. The Rasa method of performance is clearly apparent in Malayalam cinema and internationally acclaimed parallel Bengali films directed by Satyajit Ray. The latter is indebted to the Rasa method of classical Sanskrit drama, in the sense that the complicated doctrine of Rasa centers predominantly on feeling experienced not only by the characters but also conveyed in a certain artistic way to the spectator. The duality of this kind of a Rasa imbrication shows in the App trilogy, which itself has had a large influence on world cinema. See also, Abhinaya, Natya-shastra, Natyakal-padamam, Rasa Leela, Sanskrit literature, Sanskrit theatre. References